Hello, everyone. Welcome to another edition of To The Point podcast. Everybody's doing great. After another weekend here, as we're getting to the back end of October, we are through 6 weeks in the NFL season. And here on a Monday, you know how this works. We'll be doing a two-pack of podcasts today. So much to dive into in the NFL world, which I'll touch on in just a minute. Later today, I'll talk about Major League Baseball playoffs, which has been really interesting. Both NLCSs are through 2 games, pair of walk-offs for the Braves, and we had a few shining moments in the Astros-Red Sox series, as well as they get ready for Game 3 tonight, live from Fenway Park in Boston. The NHL season has started. I'm going to talk about some of the headlines early in the season for me. Obviously, to make a judgment on a team before you get to at least 8 to 10 games, in my opinion, is a bit radical, is a bit strenuous. But we'll touch on it all today. I'm going to touch on the schedule, which was one of my biggest gripes so far this season, is how the NHL has done their scheduling. The first Sunday of the season having 1 game. So we'll dive into all that today, as well as some college football news, and also the NBA tips off their season tomorrow night with the Brooklyn Nets playing the Milwaukee Bucks, and the nightcap with the Golden State Warriors playing LeBron James and the Los Angeles Lakers. Also this week, we're doing a couple different podcasts. On Thursday, as of right now, I'll be doing both podcasts Thursday, one with Harrison Schutenbeld. We'll talk about all things in the world of sports. And then later in the day, I'll be podcasting with Ben Murray, where we'll talk about Week 7 in the NFL. The Thursday nighter this week is Cleveland and Denver. I'll talk about both those teams today and where they're sitting heading into this all-important Thursday night game. And, some more podcasts throughout the week. And, again, I keep you guys up to date. I'm in the new year. I plan to have a new studio. I plan to do a few more interactive things on the podcast, including live streaming a game where listeners on social media channels can hop on and watch with me and see how I get ready for doing these podcasts. I take my notes on my legal pads like a 98-year-old man, but have some fun doing it that way. If anybody else has anything that you want me to do or any questions, we can do a Q&A, question answer type things as well. So also working on getting some interviews lined up in the next couple of weeks. So hopefully that can get done, but a lot's happening. The world of sports continues to go. And as long as there's content out there, I'll be talking about it. I can guarantee you that. But yesterday in the NFL, it really started with the theme of the week, which is how I like to start these, is blowouts. You had the Baltimore Ravens crushing the Los Angeles Chargers, which was very shocking to some people. You had the Cincinnati Bengals dumping all over the winless Detroit Lions. Not so shocking, but it was a beatdown. You had the New York Giants get destroyed at home against the Los Angeles Rams. A little shocking and a little embarrassing at MetLife Stadium yesterday. Indianapolis Colts beat Houston, but there was a lot of lopsided scores. And throughout the day, we did get some more interesting results. The Cowboys-Patriots game certainly was the most interesting game of the day. But then you had the Chiefs crush Washington. You had Arizona remain unbeaten and destroy the Cleveland Browns as they continued to get more and more battered. The theme of Week 6 was teams sending a message and teams making a statement. And no team made a bigger statement yesterday. No team has made a bigger statement after the preseason Week 1 and how it looked than the Baltimore Ravens. The Baltimore Ravens are now 5-1, winning 5 straight games after losing Week 1 on Monday Night Football to the Las Vegas Raiders in overtime. They were doomed. They lost Week 1. Lamar fumbled 3 times. They had Kansas City Week 2, and it looked like the sky was falling in Baltimore. And yet, through all of that, they've come out the other side. They defeat the Kansas City Chiefs, getting big turnovers and Lamar Jackson going for it in a 4th and 1. They defeat the Indianapolis Colts after having a no-show for 3 quarters on Monday Night Football. and they beat the Chargers, one of the hottest teams in football, with one of the young stud quarterbacks out of Oregon, who continues to get better and better week over week. The Chargers fly to Baltimore, Maryland, and they get waxed. And the Baltimore Ravens have always been a steady, good team. For years, they had Ed Reed, Hall of Famer. Ray Lewis, not my cup of tea, but nonetheless, Hall of Famer. Joe Flacco was not a Hall of Famer, but he was like Eli Manning. He was good in the big moments. They had Steve Smith Sr., Torrey Smith. Good, not great players. And you could say the same thing about the nucleus of this Baltimore Ravens team. But on all those Ravens teams, the 2000 ones with the great defense, they always had one player that was special, that was a Hall of Famer. Trent Dilfer was an average quarterback, and he won a Super Bowl in Baltimore. Joe Flacco, like I just said, was an average quarterback. But Ray Lewis, Ed Reed, these guys were special talents. Well, for the first time in a very long time, the Baltimore Ravens have their special talent at the quarterback position, the most important position in all of pro sports. And after winning an MVP, after winning a playoff game last year, there's still doubters about Lamar Jackson. And if you're a listener of me, you know I'm not one. But this guy, what he can do with his legs, how he's improving throwing the football. He'll never be Drew Brees when it comes to accuracy, when it comes to putting guys open, but he doesn't have to be. Will he have a long career? That remains to be seen. I think he does a pretty good job at avoiding huge hits, but all I know right now is the guy is right smack dab in the middle of the MVP discussion. Sure, it could be Tom Brady. Sure, it could be Kyler Murray, who remains undefeated. You could say Matt Stafford in his first campaign in Los Angeles. No argument. But if Lamar Jackson's not in the top 4 of the MVP discussion, it's just pure hate. There's just hate. People hate him because they ain't him. That's just the way it is. Just to put this into context about the Baltimore Ravens and how good this team is playing. The Baltimore Ravens have 16 players on the injured reserve this season. That is the most in the NFL. They have a 5-1 record. Just to contrast that, second on that list is the Detroit Lions, who have 14 players on the injured reserve. They are 0-6. So what does that tell you? Jared Goff, Lamar Jackson. Again, football is a team sport, and team victories are not just a quarterback stat. But what it does tell you is that Lamar Jackson can overcome deficiencies a hell of a lot better than Jared Goff. And you think at the beginning of the year, this was before week 1, he lost a Pro Bowl All-Pro corner in Marcus Peters. That's a big deal on Baltimore because they're built on their defense. 2000 Ravens, their team in 2012 wasn't built offensively. It was about defense. So they lose a huge part of that. They still have Marlon Humphrey on the other side, but they had 2 lockdown corners, a nice luxury to have. I get it. And then before the season kicks off, J.K. Dobbins, torn Achilles. Gus Edwards, torn ACL. They're 2 1-2 running backs on the depth chart, gone for the season. They had to go pick up Devontae Freeman off the scrap heap. The Atlanta Falcons, who stink, didn't want him. The New York Football Giants, who are 1-5, cut him. New Orleans Saints, cut him. Yet, he goes to Baltimore. And is he Derrick Henry? No. But in this offense, you don't have to be. And what was a deficiency week 1 is only getting better week over week, and that is that offensive line of the Baltimore Ravens. Alejandro Villanueva, who got embarrassed week 1 by Max Crosby. He's just opening up run lanes. It doesn't matter if it's Devontae Freeman, who led the the Ravens in rushing yesterday with 53 yards. Latavius Murray, who had 44. Le'Veon Bell, who had a touchdown yesterday. He's still in the league? I guess so. But what does Baltimore do? Lamar threw for a $167 yesterday. Only threw the ball 27 times. But they ran the football. The Chargers have the third worst run defense in the NFL. Talk about doing a good scouting report. They attacked it. 187 rush yards yesterday. To contrast, the Chargers, who have been running the ball great, had 26. This defense is starting to play. This offense is clicking on all cylinders. And the Ravens have beaten competent teams. The Kansas City Chiefs. Indianapolis, yes, they don't have a great record, but they have a good team. They beat the Chargers. This is no joke what the Ravens are doing. And now, for these Ravens, it's just continuing to prove it. But what we heard all week really was, well, the Chargers got Justin Herbert, and and don't get me wrong, I like the Chargers. I think yesterday was a blip. They had 0 second half points. They put their first 5 drives, they had 4 first downs, which is horrid. Justin Herbert did not have a good day, only threw for a $195 on 39 attempts. He also led the team in rushing. That tells you, and they got down early and they couldn't run the football. But it was a 2:00 game, and you make a statement like that. And that's what the Ravens did. They just play fundamentally strong football. They have one of the best coaches in the NFL in John Harbaugh. He's not afraid to go take chances. And what you saw yesterday, Brandon Staley, who's becoming one of my favorite head coaches, he's not afraid to go for it on 4th down. The Ravens stopped him yesterday. That's going to happen. But from jump, you could just tell the Ravens have this game. And some organizations just can't get out of their own way. You think for years, the Jets, the Miami Dolphins, the Jacksonville Jaguars, the Detroit Lions, these teams are just perpetually bad. Terrible records. They don't draft well. They never seem to get out of the gutter. Baltimore may be mediocre. They may just be okay, but they're never a god-awful team. They never draft high, and yet they remain consistent. Lamar Jackson was the last pick in the first round of the 2017 NFL draft. In that draft class, taken before him was Baker Mayfield, Josh Allen, Sam Darnold, Josh Rosen. He was the 5th quarterback taken in that first round. The only quarterback in that draft to win an MVP. It's over the days of this guy should play wide receiver. This guy should play running back. That's over. This guy is one of the elite talents at the position. And he's doing it in a division that's very difficult. The Cincinnati Bengals are no joke this season. Zach Taylor's got that offense chugging. You got Joe Burrow. You got Jamar Chase. They're 4-2. They play the Ravens next weekend in Baltimore. Good test. But Joe Mixon's playing well. Jamar Chase, Cincinnati is a competent club. Say what you want about the Pittsburgh Steelers, but what do they do year in, year out? Finish above 500. They're 3-3. Big Ben was out to pasture. He was dead. They keep winning games. That's all I know. They beat Denver. They beat Seattle last night. Do I think Denver and Seattle are particularly great teams? No. But you can only beat who's on your schedule. I like Najee Harris a lot. This is all this saying is that Baltimore's in a tough division. Cleveland's there too. Yeah, they hit the skids lately. But to me, in the AFC, it's a big test tonight for the Buffalo Bills because they've been playing fantastic. Since losing week 1 to the Steelers, they played, I think, the best football over that 4-week span. You could say the Bucks, but again, the Bucks should have lost to the Patriots, in my opinion. If Bill Belichick had a pair, which he didn't have yesterday either, which I'll get to. The Eagles, they get back in the game. That was close late. So they had a few snoozers. But I would say the Bills have been, over the last 4 weeks, they've definitely been the most consistent team. Josh Allen playing fantastic. They don't turn the ball over. The defense forces turnovers. Everything you'd want to see. But they got Tennessee tonight. I don't know what Tennessee is. I like Ryan Tannehill. I love Derrick Henry. Of course, he's the best pure runner in the NFL. Their defense still leaves something to be desired. Julio Jones has been injured the last 5 years. That hasn't changed in Tennessee. He's not. Some things just don't change. The best ability is availability, and we'll see. But tonight's game should be a good one. But I look at Buffalo, Baltimore, to me, are the two measuring sticks. Cleveland's fallen off. Kansas City, I don't trust. New England, no. Miami, biggest disappointment in the NFL. It gets thin. And we'll see how it comes down the stretch. I think Cincinnati's a big game this weekend. For both teams, obviously. But Baltimore, continue to play the way you are, and you're going to be there at the end. They have a realistic chance of finishing as the number 1 seed in the AFC. Yes, they have a much tougher division than Buffalo, so that helps Buffalo down the stretch. Buffalo does have to play Tampa Bay in December on the road. That's not an easy game. They still have to go to New England. It's tough late in the season. I do think Mac Jones is getting better week over week. So we'll see what happens. But Baltimore made a statement yesterday. Their defense is coming on. Their offense is playing well. And Lamar Jackson is just Lamar Jackson. And good luck slowing him down. Pivoting to the NFC. Actually, I'll get to the Bears-Packers in a minute. AFC North, let's just finish that story. I mentioned the Steelers beating the Seahawks last night on Sunday Night Football. Pretty lackluster game. You had Geno Smith in at quarterback. Some clock management problems the game shouldn't even went to overtime. Some selfish play from DK Metcalf where he didn't rush to the line of scrimmage after making a big catch. And I love him as a talent, but I don't think he's got that big of a cranium when it comes to football IQ. But nonetheless, Pittsburgh wins. They are 3-3. Najee Harris continues to impress. I think, week over week, I like the cut of his jib. I think he's a good football player. The Steelers now head into a bye week. So they get a week off to recoup. They come back playing Cleveland. So tough for them, that tough division game. But we're going to learn about Pittsburgh coming up because they got the Browns, then they got the Bears on Monday Night Football. Detroit, easy opponent. Week 12, they have the Chargers Sunday night. So we'll see what the Steelers really are. They've beaten some bad teams in the last couple of weeks, but I'm not writing them off yet. I mentioned Cincinnati. They beat Detroit yesterday. Detroit, what can I say? Dan Campbell has been the most positive guy in the world, crying his tears, saying these guys give it their all. He kind of broke yesterday saying Jared Goff's got to be better. And he's right. Jared Goff is a quarterback that's been to the Super Bowl, but he gave you nothing yesterday. He threw the ball 42 times. He only had 202 yards passing. No touchdowns. That's just not good enough. 11 points on offense. Where you had Cincinnati, who just did whatever the hell they wanted. But Detroit's going to be, they're the only winless team, which is sad for them that Jacksonville got a win before them. But you talk about Detroit. they got the Rams this week in Los Angeles. That is going to be Jared Goff returning to Los Angeles. Stafford playing his old team. Don't be surprised to see him go off for 6 touchdowns and just torch that team that nearly ended his career just from being purely incompetent at drafting players. But we also got the Cleveland Browns in that division. Yesterday, they played the Arizona Cardinals. And to be honest, I thought before the game, Cleveland was going to win the game for a multitude of reasons. Number one being Arizona did not have their head coach yesterday. Cliff Kingsbury tested positive for COVID, so he could not be on the sideline. Their quarterback's coach, Cam Turner, could not be on the sideline. He tested positive. Chandler Jones, their best pass rusher, tested positive for COVID. He was a no-show. So your play caller, your quarterback's coach, and your best defensive player are not in the lineup. Big holes. Obviously, Cleveland had their problems as well. Nick Chubb was not in the lineup. Jack Conklin and Jedrick Wills on their offensive line, which turned out to be a significant play yesterday. But what was the story about yesterday's game? It was, to me, I want to love Baker Mayfield. I want Baker Mayfield to be a guy that could win a Super Bowl, because I liked him in college at Oklahoma, and I thought he was a really good player. But the more and more I watch him, I just say, I don't know if he's got it, because no Nick Chubb yesterday, who's one of the best running backs in football. And yes, the Cleveland Browns offense is pretty straightforward. We're going to run the ball effectively, and we're going to use the run game to establish play action, bootlegs, jet sweeps, that type of offense. And it's worked. And that last year it worked to perfection. But, there was no Odell Beckham Jr., but you had Jarvis Landry, you had Donovan Peoples-Jones, you had Austin Hooper and Njoku at the tight end position. And you also had your running backs, where they love throwing a running back screen to Kareem Hunt, who can create and make people miss in open space. But yesterday, I look at the Cleveland offense. I'll go to that first. Too many mistakes. Early in the game, they go for it on 4th down, a 4th and 3 from the 8, after Arizona started the game with a touchdown. Take the points. I get it, but take the points, and you're playing an unbeaten team on the road. Take the points. So they're at home, but take the points. Stay in the game. What happens? Baker gets sacked, turnover on downs. Arizona goes on the next drive. They score a touchdown. Arizona had the ball for half of the first quarter, then into the second quarter, time of possession, 2 touchdowns, one to Christian Kirk, one to DeAndre Hopkins, just like that. And then, they're missing 2 parts of that offensive line, but Baker, get rid of the football. Sometimes it's better just to throw the ball away. Tom Brady and Aaron Rodgers have mastered in this. It took Aaron Rodgers a while to figure this out because he went through some injuries, but Tom Brady has been a master in turtling since early in his career. He avoids big hits. That's why he's still playing at his age. Throw the ball away, live to see another down. Baker takes too many hits. And we saw in that game where his arm got caught behind, I really thought he hurt his shoulder. It looked rough from the replay, and I give him a ton of credit. He shouldn't have come back in the game because that game was over in the 3rd quarter, but he has a lot of guts, and he doesn't want to give up, and I give him credit for that. But you see that this offense, they just don't have that, you see the Hail Mary at the end of the first half to Peoples-Jones. You say, okay, 52-yard strike, beautiful Hail Mary. Okay, maybe they have some life here. But after that, it was just nothing. And they start the second half 3-0. Arizona gets the ball, touchdown. And it wasn't like Kyler Murray was playing his best game of the season yesterday. But Baker just didn't have it. He doesn't have a connection with Odell Beckham Jr. Odell is getting hurt now every other play. He seems frustrated to be in Cleveland. I've said this from the beginning. I don't think Odell and Baker are a good mix because Baker forces the ball to him. This doesn't mean Odell's not a good receiver, although I do think his injuries are catching up with him, because he had a 4th down play yesterday that was right in the hands. This is in the red zone at the 5, would have been a 1st and goal if he caught the pass. Another 4th down, drops the ball. You got to catch it. You just have to catch it. No, I don't care. The defender's coming. You have to catch that ball, plain and simple. But this offense makes stupid decisions. I think Stefanski is too aggressive because this may sound harsh, but it's just a reality. Baker Mayfield's not Justin Herbert. He's not as good as Justin Herbert. You should not have as much faith in Baker Mayfield as you do on a Justin Herbert to go on a 4th and 8, to go on a 4th and 3. I trust Justin a hell of a lot more because I know he's just a better quarterback. He's better at the position. So Cleveland offense, they're not gelling. They had no Nick Chubb. Kareem Hunt got hurt. He's out a few weeks. He's not going to be available Thursday night. I don't know if Nick Chubb's going to be available Thursday night. Problematic. Their offensive line's getting battered. I thought this team could get to the Super Bowl. I'm really starting to have my doubts. Plus, you got Baltimore in that division. You should just hope to try to make the playoffs at this point would be a big achievement for this team. But also, their defense is, I thought this team was so strong because they were loaded on every position. In the offseason, they go get Troy Hill from the Los Angeles Rams, a great corner. They go get John Johnson III, a really good safety. They got Myles Garrett. They got Jadeveon Clowney. Greedy Williams is back at corner. Grant Delpit is playing strong safety. And yet, they just allow big play after big play. Early in the game yesterday, Chase Edmonds runs off a play on the first possession for a 40-yard gain. Huge plays to A.J. Green down the field on a bootleg. He's wide open. This defense is unraveling at the seams. So not only is the offense not clicking, your quarterback's hurt, your top 2 running backs are injured, your 2 of your tackles are out, Odell Beckham Jr. can't catch a ball, plus he's got a shoulder problem, and your defense is a sieve. You're not winning anything. What does this sound like? The Kansas City Chiefs, basically, except Patrick Mahomes is better than Baker Mayfield, and they have a better chance of being a more effective team because guess what? He's just better than Baker Mayfield Jr. III. But in saying that, you got to credit Arizona. They're 6-0. And look who they've beaten. They've beaten Cleveland. They beat the Rams in Los Angeles. They beat San Francisco. They've beaten some teams here. They beat Minnesota, which looks even more and more impressive as they get to 3-3. They are now 500. So Arizona is no slouch. And you got a 7-0 team. They got Houston next weekend. Make that 7-0. I don't even got to watch that game. I know they're going to win it. But I like the team a lot. And they got the Packers in a couple weeks. They got the San Francisco against. They do have a tougher schedule upcoming. I still have my doubts. And it's not about Kyler. I like Kyler a lot. I think he's creative. Yesterday, he threw for 229, 4 touchdowns. I mean, you can't ask for much more than that. They got solid running game. But there's just something about the Cardinals where I just go, I don't love what I see. I like DeAndre Hopkins. I love him. AJ Green has really found it. Christian Kirk when he's good. But, they continue to prove people wrong. J.J. Watt has played great the past 2 weeks. San Francisco, I thought he played his best game of the season. And then even yesterday against Cleveland, gets his first sack as a Cardinal. He's starting to get more and more pressure. He's affecting the run game. So he is looking very strong in that defense. But they acquired Zach Ertz this week from the Eagles. Zach Ertz is not what he used to be. He's a Pro Bowl tight end for a long time. Big part of that Super Bowl winning team in Philadelphia. But it's a good addition. They had Max Williams at tight end. He's out for the season with a knee injury. So they add some depth to that position. They get Zach Ertz there. I still need to see more from this team. I'm not saying they are the Pittsburgh Steelers of last year who went into week 11 undefeated and then it fell apart for them. I do think they're better than that. But I think we'll know what these Arizona Cardinals are in the big games. A week from Thursday, they play Green Bay on Thursday Night Football at home. That's a big game. Green Bay has won 5 in a row. They are playing really good football. We'll see how they react to that game. Again, they play the San Francisco in a few weeks. That's another test. So we'll see what this team is made of in the coming weeks, but you can't look past them. They're 6-0 for a reason, and they just continue to find ways to get wins with Kyler Murray doing it with his legs. Chase Edmonds has been a great signing. James Conner coming over from Pittsburgh has found a second life. And AJ, they're taking flyers on veterans like Connors and AJ Green, and these guys have found it down in Arizona. We'll get to Dallas, New England, but I want to talk about the Green Bay game. And Green Bay, the last couple of weeks, have played some really tight football. What I mean by that is you haven't exactly left the games being completely impressed by the Green Bay Packers. And you look at the Cincinnati game, you can make a really good argument they should have lost that game twice. If Evan McPherson can make a kick, they leave Cincinnati with a loss. However, Mason Crosby makes a kick on his third attempt. They escape with a victory. But other than Devontae Adams and him running over the field, making catches, who stood out for Green Bay on offense? Even Aaron Jones, since his great performance against Detroit week 2 of Monday Night Football, he's not exactly been a superstar. AJ Dillon, has not emerged. For the running back out of Boston College has not shown up on tape yet. So we're looking, will it be Alan Lazard? Is it Robert Tonyan? Is it Marquez Valdez-Scantling? Their defense leaves something to be desired. But yesterday, you're in a divisional game and you're in Chicago. That's not an easy place to play. And I love what the Bears are doing early. And what were they doing? They were getting pressure on the quarterback. The Green Bay offensive line has been battered all year. David Bakhtiari, the all-pro left tackle, has not played a snap this year. Billy Turner, a Pro Bowl right tackle, was not playing. And Khalil Mack, he's back into Khalil Mack. Last year in offseason, he's getting pressures. He's getting to the quarterback this season. Akeem Hicks is playing good football. And that defense in Chicago kept them in the game. There was also a play, and the Zebras were terrible at times yesterday. I mentioned the Seattle-Pittsburgh game where I don't know how they got that spike off. That game should have been over. But there's a play in the second quarter. Justin Fields, who didn't have a lot of passing yards yesterday, but I like the way he played. He sees a guy jump, snaps the ball. And what do you do on a free play? We take a shot down the field. Yes. It doesn't, if the other opposing team intercepts the ball, doesn't matter. You're going to get the 5 yards anyway. You live to fight another day. So he throws one down the field looking for Darnell Mooney. It actually gets intercepted by, I think it's Adrian Amos deep in the end zone. However, the Zebras did not make the call. It was a blatant offside. This was not conjecture. It was obvious. He jumped over the line of scrimmage. And they didn't call it. It turns out on that turnover, Green Bay goes down the field, scores a touchdown. There's times when there's a holding call and I say, how was that holding? Or where was this? This one was obvious. Zebras, just make the easy calls. This was one of them. He was offside. Blow the damn whistle. And you're already talking about a rookie quarterback playing against Aaron Rodgers, one of the best quarterbacks in the history of the game, and you don't give him that? It was just stupid. Idiotic, in my opinion. But throughout the game, Green Bay's defense played well. Justin Fields, like I said, he didn't have, if you look at his stats, didn't have the greatest game. 16 for 27, $174, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. Only threw, like I said, for 174 yards. But I like the way he played. He made good decisions. Deep throws down the field, Allen Robinson. Found Cole Kmet. They lost David Montgomery. Khalil Herbert is a stud running back. He had 19 carries yesterday for 97 yards and the score. Justin Fields ran the ball 6 times for 43 yards as well. Him using his athleticism. But what it came down to was late in the game. Green Bay's leading by 3. They're killing the clock. But Aaron Rodgers has the ball, and he scrambles. He's going for the pylon. They can nearly get a tackle on him, but he gets hit, but he crosses the line. He does his signature championship belt celebration, and he yells at the Chicago Bears fans, "I fucking own you." And he has over the course of his career. He has dominated Chicago. Chicago hates his guts, just like they hated Brett Favre, because they could never beat any of these quarterbacks. And Chicago did all they could. They had held Aaron Rodgers to 195 yards passing. He did have 2 touchdowns, but Devontae Adams only had 89 yards receiving compared to over 200 the week before against Cincinnati. Aaron Jones was the second leading receiver with 34 yards. So they played a near perfect game, but Green Bay still found a way to win. And my big takeaway here is they didn't look great against Cincinnati. They did not look great yesterday against Chicago. But you know what really matters? They won the football game. Green Bay is 5-1. That's exactly where you want to be. After, they lost to New Orleans, looked like the sky was falling, but nobody's saying, do you think Aaron Rodgers cares anymore? Clearly he does. They head home to play the Washington football team this week, and they get Arizona a week from Thursday, like I mentioned. But them winning these games right now, if they can continue this run, they're going to lose games along the way. But having a home playoff game at Lambeau Field maybe is more important than potentially any other location in the NFL. You think about their competition, Tampa Bay. And even though Tampa Bay won at Lambeau Field last year, it's not fun to play in the freezing cold. I think Tom Brady would prefer to play in Tampa Bay in the playoffs. That's just an assumption, but nevertheless. The Los Angeles Rams, they play in a dome. Matthew Stafford played in a dome in Detroit. He doesn't like the cold weather. So having home field advantage, Stafford having to come and play in the cold, I think would be an advantage down the stretch. Arizona, they play in a dome in the desert. So it's already hot. You telling me you have a team that has to go to Lambeau Field in mid-January? Arizona's not winning that game. So having home field for a team like Green Bay, for a team like Buffalo, Kansas City at Arrowhead, it's so much more important because it makes teams like the Los Angeleses, like Tampa Bay, go to your location where the temperature is much different, where you have to play outdoors. You don't have a dome. It's just a different set of circumstances, and it makes it difficult on your life down the road. And I thought we saw some really good things from rookie quarterbacks this week. Trevor Lawrence got his first win. I think he's only gotten better week after week. He did turn the ball over once against Miami, but he's thrown 1 interception in the last 3 weeks. That continues to improve. I thought Justin Fields, that interception should have been an interception if the Zebras made the correct call, but he only threw for $174. But they're running the football. They're playing complementary football. Bill Lazor's making a lot better decisions calling the plays. They were in a game against Green Bay as a rookie. I thought he played very well. He didn't make too many mistakes. He tried to throw the ball down the field to Darnell Mooney. It wasn't check down Charlie like it was for the first 4 weeks for Mac Jones. And speaking of Mac Jones, he was involved in the most entertaining game of the day yesterday, where America's team, the Dallas Cowboys, 4-1, headed to New England to play the 2-3 Patriots. And what a game it was. And through the first couple weeks for both these teams, it's been very interesting. For the Cowboys, they lose week 1 to Tampa Bay on a last-second field goal. Since then, they've been complementary football at its finest. You got Dallas running the ball more than they're passing every game. You have Zeke and Tony Pollard chewing defensive lies, scoring rushing touchdowns. You have both guys running for a combined 150 the week prior, and then Dak responds with 3 touchdown passes of his own. Offense is clicking. You had Trayvon Diggs, who leads the NFL in interceptions just in his second year. Just a stud back there. You had Micah Parsons, who only continues to improve out of Penn State. So this team keeps getting better and better. While New England had played in some tight football. They nearly beat Tampa Bay at home, Tom Brady's homecoming. Mac Jones, I believe, outplayed him in that game, but they fall just short on a mistake by Bill Belichick. But this game was very different. This game was dominated by the Dallas Cowboys, and yet it came down to overtime. And now it shouldn't have. It shouldn't have, because a few plays. Well, first of all, in the first quarter, Dallas goes on a 4th and 1 in their own territory. They get stuffed. I don't understand why they went for it in that play. Did not make a whole lot of sense to me. It leads to 3 plays, a touchdown by New England. Just looks more and more stupid as I look back on it. You're going to give a rookie quarterback more time. I mean, so less field to work. Do you have to score a touchdown? No thanks. But either way, Mac Jones took advantage. He found Hunter Henry for the score. Dallas responds, but they're just controlling the ball. That's what they did this whole game. Time of possession was 39-17 to New England's 26-51. Total yards, the Dallas Cowboys 567 to 335 for the New England Patriots. Pass yards, 445 to 215. Dallas Cowboys with 32 first downs to New England's 17. However, another zebra play that I just is perplexing. Dallas gets down to the 1 yard line, 1.5, and 3rd and goal. Dak decides to do a quarterback sneak where you line up behind the center, you either go left or you go right, and you duck underneath him and you plow ahead. Tom Brady has mastered it. He does it all the time. He does it very successfully. On this play, Dak clearly crossed the goal line. It was a touchdown. However, the refs couldn't see him. However, on a replay, you could see him, but you have a judge in the sky. So let's go on a tangent here for a second. You have a guy in the sky or in the booth somewhere, whatever the hell this gremlin is doing, who's supposed to be watching the game, and he's supposed to tell the refs, hey, I think there's a touchdown here. No, it was actually a touchdown. Okay, you idiots, you missed it. But on this play, it was so clearly a touchdown, we don't hear anything. The game's not stopped. Makes no sense. Why the hell is there a guy up there if he's not helping them? That doesn't happen. Okay, well, 4th and goal from the half-inch yard line. Dak goes to jumps, put it over the goal line for the touchdown. He's got it. The ball slips out of his hands. It's a fumble. Touchback in the end zone. Dak shouldn't have fumbled. Don't get me wrong. Shouldn't have fumbled. He had a bad interception in the game as well. But that was a touchdown. It shouldn't have come down to that. And I hate video review more than anybody. I wish there was none in sports because you hire referees to do a job. There's a lot of them on the field. There's a lot of them on the ice in hockey. Every sport, there's a hell of a lot of officials. You'd think one of them would make the right decision. But if it tells you that all those guys on there cannot make the right decision, then hire some new fucking people. And if you have a guy upstairs who is supposed to inform the referees, you missed something without having to go to review, without having to look at it 85 times, without having to challenge, you still don't do it right. This is what's frustrating about sports when it comes to review. Anyway. So New England gets the ball back. We go down the field. But New England, Matt Jones playing great. Completes his first 7 passes for $120. He's looking great, but Dak starts to come on. And his main target was CeeDee Lamb yesterday. CeeDee, I think this was his breakout game. He had a good rookie season, but he had his problems. He had a case of the drops. He wasn't always consistent. But yesterday it was CeeDee Lamb's day, the first-round pick receiver out of Oklahoma, who they took 17th overall last year. Talk about a draft. They had CeeDee in the first round. Trayvon Diggs went in the second round. Not bad. Both guys are probably going to be Pro Bowlers this year. So they get a big play, touchdown to CeeDee. New England comes back down the field. They tie it up. Then they force Dallas to punt. But with less than 3 minutes to go, Mac Jones has the football. He's looking for Kendrick Bourne. It's intercepted by Trayvon Diggs. Trayvon Diggs, who's been talked about all week. Maybe don't throw the ball this way. Me and Matt Wright talked about this last week. He gets the interception, takes it back to the house for a pick 6. Puts New England up 7. Disaster. But then we go. What I loved about Mac Jones in this game was, number one, he was not afraid to throw the ball. He threw with conviction. He'd throw the ball down the field. I just liked the way he played yesterday. The next play, just threw it a pick six. He's a rookie. I think that would startle him. No, next play, he goes right back at Trayvon Diggs. Kendrick Bourne, who he established a connection with, yet he had not had a catch yet in the day, throws a strike at midfield. Trayvon Diggs slowed up a bit. He's playing in front. He's playing to cover the receiver. He had Kazee, the strong safety, who's supposed to give him leverage on the back end. So if Kendrick Bourne beats Trayvon Diggs on the route or Diggs takes a wrong way, he has safety help. Cover 2. However, Kazee runs past both of them, clearly going for the interception. Stupid play, selfish play, because tackle him there. You're up by 7. Conserve the lead. But Diggs is in no man's land. Kazee is running to friggin' Fenway Park to get tickets to tonight's game. Kendrick Bourne gets the ball 75 yards to the house. We have a tie ball game just like that. Everybody's thinking, okay, this game is over. No, not even close. But at that point, New England goes up by 3. But with 20 seconds left, Greg Zuerlein kicks a 49-yard field goal. We go to overtime. And this is, I mentioned Bill Belichick, I believe, lost the game for New England against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And on that stormy night, that Sunday Night Football game, he kicked a 56-yard field goal with about 58 seconds left. In the pouring rain, winds going crazy, and it was a 4th and 3 where Mac Jones was dealing. He completed 19 passes in a row. Have some confidence in your rookie quarterback. Show that you trust the kid. But he played not to lose. He didn't play to win. Yesterday, he did the same thing. First drive, New England gets a couple first downs. They're close to midfield at about their own 40. Mac Jones misses a pass on a 3rd and 3 to N'Keal Harry. So it's 4th and 3. And I get it. It's a 4th and 3. If you miss from there, Dallas is probably going to win the game. But the way the game was going, Dak Prescott was dealing. He played his best game of the season yesterday. It wasn't about the running game, which I'll get to. It wasn't about different. It was about Dak Prescott being a man. To me, it was obvious. You give the ball back to Dallas, the game is over. In overtime, play to win the game. Herm Edwards. Bill Belichick played not to lose. I would not have faith in that defense. It's not like it's Jared Goff on the other side. Dak Prescott is one of the 5 best quarterbacks in football. Damn right I said it. Yes, he's got complementary pieces, but the guy can flat out ball. And what did he do? In overtime, on a bootleg, throwing off his back foot, just launched it to CeeDee Lamb. He waves goodbye to New England fans. Score, game over. Bill, should have went for it, buddy. To me, it's just a mistake. Justin Bailey is not coming on the field to punt. You go for it in that situation. We get on Mike McCarthy for being bad with time management, situational football. And don't get me wrong, he has his warts. A lot of them. But to me, Bill Belichick has had 2 situations this year where his teams could have won the game. And he decided to play not to lose. They are 2-4. Or if he makes different decisions, this team could be 4-2. But now they're in a hole. Yes, they've had a difficult schedule. Don't get me wrong. But that loss to Miami's only win, gets worse and worse week by week that they lost to that team. Miami looks like a joke more and more every week. But New England now is the Jets. You should win that game, but who knows? But I love Mac. I think Mac Jones is getting better and better. And I think New England will probably have a losing record this season. Maybe they won't because they got the Jets. They got Miami again. They got the Chargers in week 8. That's not an easy game. You get Carolina. Who the hell knows at Carolina? Since Christian McCaffrey's gone out, they haven't won a game. Then they're on their bye, I believe. No, they got the Cleveland at home. Who knows? And they got Atlanta on Thursday night. But they don't have a murderer's row of a schedule, but it's not easy to get the Titans later in the season. So they may have a losing record this year. But I believe they have their quarterback of the future. Mac Jones can play. It's no more check down Charlie. He's not afraid. Yes, he threw an intercept. It was the interception yesterday was his fault. It was off the hands of his receiver, but he stretched him out way too far. Trayvon Diggs capitalized. Trayvon Diggs has 7 interceptions in 6 games. That's the most in a 6-game span in NFL history, tying Rod Woodson. And by the way, Rod Woodson has a gold jacket. But I do like Mac Jones for the Patriots. I do believe he's a great successor to Tom Brady. Is he going to be Tom Brady? No. But if those were the expectations to begin with, well, Patriots fans are stupid. Simmer. But he can play. Get him some better talent. Continue to evolve this offense. The running game is solid with Damian Harris. Ramondre Stevenson is a guy who should get more touches as the weeks go on. Let's get to Dallas. Dak Prescott is great. I think he's a top 5 quarterback. His decision-making, he's coming off a terrible injury yesterday. Throws it off his back foot, just pinpoint accurate. Him and CD have a connection. People talking about CD Lamb being a top 5 receiver in football, I think that's idiotic. That's crazy talk, but he is very good. Amari Cooper is very good. Dalton Schultz is becoming more and more reliable. And what impressed me about Dallas yesterday is that they played so much better, and yet they let New England hang around, but they still found a way to win the game. Normally, it's what can go wrong will go wrong in Dallas. But overcoming bad zebras, overcoming a bad interception by Dak Prescott. And what was most impressive to me is in the past, Dallas has won football games where they run the ball more than they pass. And I still think that is the key to them having success long-term. That's what they should be doing moving forward. But yesterday, Dallas threw the ball 51 times. They only rushed the ball 31, and yet they still found a way to win the game. And they head into their bye week at 5-1. And what should give them even more excitement is that their division is a tire fire. The Washington football team are 2-4. They get worse week after week. Their defense, there's no faith in that defense. It's washed. Taylor Heineke, the shine has washed off him. They're done. They're 2-4. They got Green Bay this week. New York Giants get blown out at home in embarrassing fashion by the Los Angeles Rams. Yes, the Rams are a very good football team, but do not lose 38-11 at home. Don't. Danny Don, Kadarius Toney's hurt. Sterling Shepard, Darius, his receivers are all hurt. But that defense, maybe show up and do something. Maybe try to stop Matthew Stafford a little bit. No. Philadelphia Eagles are 2-4. They look like the most competent team in that division, but they're not going to catch Dallas. Coming up for the Eagles, they have the Raiders. The Raiders looked good yesterday against Denver. First game, sans John Gruden. They seem to have a new aura about them. They seem to be happier playing. That'll be it's a must-win game for the Eagles. That's next Sunday at 5:05. They need to go in there and win that game, point blank. You have to win that game because you go 2-5. I believe Washington will be 2-5. The Giants, who do they have? Carolina. They beat the Saints from the NFC South. Carolina's lost 3 in a row. Sam Darnold played terrible yesterday. Sans that last drive could put the game to overtime. He looked like he was seeing ghosts like he was with the Jets. But again, they could easily be 1-6, and then it's 2-5, 2-5, 1-6, 5-1 coming off a bye where they'll play Minnesota a week from Sunday night on Sunday Night Football. So this team is legit. And I look at the NFC, and if I had to rank the teams, I would still put Tampa number 1 for me. Even though they have a loss, I like Tampa the best because I think Tom Brady and that offense, they know each other so well. I believe their defense will only get healthier throughout the year. We saw them last year. They got better as the season went along. They're going to get, Murphy Bunting back. They'll get Jamel Dean back on the back end, Shaq Barrett, JPP, Devin White. They'll be back together. I think Tampa Bay will finish with the best record in the NFC if I had to put money on it today. I don't think their division's very strong. New Orleans, I don't trust them. Carolina's fallen off, and Atlanta is Atlanta. So they're not doing much. Number 2 for me, I would put the Rams. The Rams have one loss. It was to the Cardinals, and I get the Cardinals are 6-0. But I would say I just have a little more trust right now in the Rams as a whole of a team because I like Stafford. I think he's playing very well this season. You got Cooper Kupp. Their wavelength is just special. Yesterday, Cooper Kupp, what he's doing, Stafford threw for 251, 4 touchdowns, only 6 incompletions. Cooper Kupp had 9 catches for $130. He over half of the receiving yards yesterday, another 2 touchdowns. And looking at his production, he's got to be right up there for receiving yards. Devontae Adams is first. Cooper Kupp is third in the NFL in receiving yards behind Deebo Samuel and Devontae Adams. So I got Los Angeles 2. 3, I'll put the Cardinals. Again, they're 6-0. They've beaten some really good football teams. The next time around, I do think the Rams will beat Arizona in Arizona, but I like what they're doing. They got a good run game. Kyler is a very good quarterback. They got good receivers. Their defense, they got my boy Budda Baker back there playing safety. Chandler Jones, J.J. Watt normally. So very good team. Then I would have the Green Bay. Then I would probably have the Dallas Cowboys, quite frankly, over the Green Bay Packers. I just like the Cowboys more. I like they have defensive game breakers. I don't think Green Bay has one defensive player that really stands out to me. Jair Alexander has never been that guy for me. Obviously, they have Aaron Rodgers, but I like Dallas's team more as a whole. Devontae Adams is better than any receiver on the Dallas roster. But Amari Cooper, CeeDee Lamb, Dalton Schultz, I like them more than Alan Lazard, than Robert Tonyan, than MBS. So, and then I would finish with Green Bay as my top 5. Those teams are all very good. You look at the NFC, it's stronger than the AFC for sure. Because in the AFC, obviously you got Baltimore there. Kansas City has fallen off. The Chargers have a tough loss, so it's tough to rank them that high. The Raiders are 4-2 still. There's just a lot of teams in the AFC that you look at and you go, are they really that good? These 2 teams on Thursday night, Broncos have lost 3 in a row. They look shell-shocked. Teddy Bridgewater had 3 interceptions yesterday. Browns are beaten and battered. Dolphins stink. They're 1-5. The biggest disappointment in the NFL, in my opinion. Chiefs, they're 3-3. They didn't impress me yesterday. They have the Titans next week in Tennessee. That'll be a big test. Titans will be on a short week. But again, Patrick Mahomes had another 2-interception game yesterday. Their defense played well, but it's against Taylor Heineke. That Washington offense is not exactly potent. Buffalo is very good, so Buffalo would be right there. But I'm just saying it gets thinner in the AFC when it comes to great teams. And we'll see where this season goes. But it's going to be fun. We got a good one tonight. Bills, Titans on Monday Night Football. Tonight, I look at the Bills' defense has really been, they've shut out opponents 2 of the last 4 games. And I don't expect that to happen tonight. But how can they limit Derrick Henry's production? That's what's most important to me. How do you keep him in check? And you want to stop the run early so that Tennessee cannot establish their play action game. Ryan Tannehill is such an effective quarterback when he's running bootlegs. When he's got the play action game going, he can get A.J. Brown in space. He can get Julio Jones if he's playing in space, the tight ends, whomever, to get open. And, Tennessee revamped their defense. My big thing tonight is, can their corners cover Buffalo? We know Stephon Diggs is a number 1 receiver in the National Football League. He's proven it year in, year out. Emmanuel Sanders is like a fountain of youth. He just seems to find it with Josh Allen. He's a touchdown machine. Dawson Knox has taken that next step. He's emerging as a top tight end. And Devin Singletary, their running game is their running game. Josh Allen's a big part of it. But I expect Buffalo to win tonight. But I do think we'll see a good football game this evening. I do think we'll see a battle. It's in Tennessee, so that does help Tennessee tonight with that home crowd. But, week 6 will be in the books tonight. But, a lot of interesting storylines. I thought Dallas would be good. I didn't think they'd be this good through 6 weeks. I didn't think Baltimore would be this good through 6 weeks. But, there's also other interesting storylines is when will Detroit win a game? I don't expect it to be against the Rams, but how long does Dan Campbell stick with Jared Goff? They traded him to be that bridge quarterback. Well, if they have the number 1 pick, do they go with, do they draft a quarterback, even though it's not a very quarterback-heavy draft? The Eagles right now have 3 picks in the top 10. Miami traded their first-round pick to Philadelphia so they could trade up in the draft this past one to get Jalen Waddle. Well, right now, the Eagles have 3 top 10 picks. If they keep losing, if the Colts keep losing, the Colts, if Carson Wentz plays in 75% of the snaps this season, the Eagles will get the Colts pick. If the Colts look good yesterday, they got San Francisco on Sunday night. So if the Colts continue to struggle, do they keep playing Carson Wentz? That's another interesting angle to preserve that first-round pick. So there's always interest. Even on these bottom feeder teams, you wonder, where are they going to go? What's this team morphing into? Where does Deshaun Watson end up at the end of the season? Is Jalen Hurts the answer in Philadelphia long-term? Is the Sam Darnold experiment going to work? Is Minnesota is Minnesota a good team? Or is it just a mirage year over year with kinfolk Kirk Cousins at the helm at quarterback? So we have a lot to uncover over the next couple of weeks, and we definitely will. We'll be talking about here and to the point. I'll be back later on today. We'll talk baseball, hockey, basketball, college football, the works. So tune in for that. It'll all be available on the Apple Podcast, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts, or all over our social media channels. So as always, everybody, happy Monday. Take care, and we'll talk soon.